crowd really in festive mood for this Royal Bank International. Always a very special atmosphere about a Welsh match in Edinburgh, imparted by the thousands of Welsh supporters up from the valley towns and villages. And there, as the bands leave the field, the new Welsh captain, Paul Thorburn, playing today in his 21st international match. Captain of Neath last season. And it's a very big debut day for the French referee, Jean-Claude Dulce, a 47-year-old railwayman from Brive, who used to play as a scrum half. He's been refereeing for 20 years, but this is his first Five Nations Championship match. Wales may have won the toss, but Scotland may have done so, because the idea is often to put pressure on the opposition. Peter Dodds gets the game going, and that was the idea, the long kick down to his opposite number, Paul Thorburn. And that's Peter Dodds. 15 internationals he's played in and scored 150 points. The conditions perfect. Bill Elwood and his staff have done a great job on this Murrayfield pitch. It's just like a billiard table. Blethin Bowen gets it restarted. Up went Derek White first. Jonathan Griffiths, a very high kick. It's very awkward. Tukalo back. And so Ivan Tukalo of Selkirk, who has a lot of support here, being a former pupil of Royal High School, really had to pick his feet up there. Scotland's 22. Great start for Jonathan Griffiths with that lovely high punt. Ian Watkins, the try scorer against Scotland last season. Finlay Calder takes it in. Gets himself past the gain line. Picked up by Griffiths, but the referee was quite right. Offside. But there, Jonathan Griffiths giving an indication of the lethal break that he has. He's used it so often for Llanelli. And Craig Chalmers, the new cap, the 20-year-old, the youngest lad on the field, starts off with that lovely kick to touch. And in telling his backs to get up nice and flat. That's halfway. Ian Watkins, the only hooker from the Ebbw Vale club to be capped by Wales. Gathered in there by Ken Milne. There's Phil Davis there, he'll have to watch to stay behind the rear feet. Finlay Calder, Armstrong. Chalmers, very high. Up goes Lenine. Lenine was first to it. Taken on by Calder. Calder up to the Welsh 22. Still driving, the Scottish captain. What a drive that was by the Scottish forwards. Armstrong. Armstrong threatening. Armstrong to Chalmers. Chalmers held. Ian Milne is there to help. Good tackle by Blethin Bowen. Penalty to the Scots. Right in front of the post. And Jonathan Griffiths is hurt. It was a superb kick by Chalmers that led to this drive. Finlay Calder smashing on. And then Armstrong meant to get half through, but well tackled there. John Devereux in on the tackle. Well, a thoroughly exciting start, Eddie Butler.
Yes, the key to that last Scottish move was that Craig Chalmers' kick landed outside the Welsh 22 and allowed Paul Thorburn no chance to make the mark. And then when Scotland did win the ruck ball, I thought there was an overlap, and really it should have gone along the Scottish three-quarters, and a try would surely have followed.
All the same, it gives Peter Dodds this simple-looking chance to open the Scottish account. Peter Dodds, who hasn't played for Scotland since 1985, but folk here will remember that he scored 150 points in his 15 internationals and was in fact Scotland's Grand Slam full-back in '84. Peter Dodds of Gala. Very casual, very easy. Scotland 3 points ahead. They played 4 minutes. great start for the Scots, especially with that great ruck that led up to that penalty goal by Peter Dodds. And a good start, so important, really, in a sense, for both teams. Scotland with their 4 new caps. Wales with 13 of this team who have not played before in a Murrayfield International. So that's an entirely new atmosphere for those 13 lads. I mean, there are no new caps in this Welsh side, but only 2, Devereux and Jones, have played in a Murrayfield International before. Paul Thorburn did the big kick. Chalmers made the catch. And what a confident start the youngsters made.
Wales have had 2 lineouts already. They've thrown flat and short to the front. I'm sure they'll vary it now to try and get Kevin Mosley into the game.
Throwing, of course, by the hookers, so vital nowadays. Notice Ian Watkins wanting to make absolutely sure that he'd got the signal right. Kevin Mosley is right in the middle of the line. That was him, number 4, but he was pushed out the road. Armstrong, Chalmers. Chalmers tackled there by Nigel Davies. Devereux. Little chip through again by Griffiths. Scots in real trouble. And so those little kicks by Jonathan Griffiths, well, one huge one, and that little chip through has given Wales a great scoring position. Kevin Mosley is being marked by Damien Cronin, and Chris Gray there with the headband is marking Phil Davis. Throwing long to Jones, taken by David Soul. Great work by the Scots. Ian Milne thunders on. They've taken it almost up to the 22. Gary Armstrong clears. And a good bit of refereeing by Jean-Claude Dulcie as Gary Armstrong got the kick away. He knew the ball was going to touch, so he looked behind just to make sure there was nothing fancy going on. So Wales with Phil Davis at number 2, Kevin Mosley at 4. Yes, that was more like Mosley, but it was too far for Griffiths. But you notice what an aggressive little fellow is. He had an awkward ball there. He was tackled by Chris Gray, but he still went forward and got his chip in. Scotland well aware of the danger presented by that stocky little Llanelli scrum half. Watkins using Mark Jones, taken in by Bryant. Blethen Bowen, very high, outside Scotland's 22. Offside. Penalty or scrummage.
That'll be a relief to Wales to win the last 2 lineouts. That in the first 4, Scotland got first hands whether it went to the front, the middle or the back.
Craig Chalmers, now he thumps the ball like a siege gun, this laddie. Watch this. Woof. No problems about getting the distance from midfield there. Not pleased, he wanted it to be further upfield, but I think his captain Finlay Calder will be happy that he found his touch and didn't give Wales a ball that they could run back. Ian Watkins taking his time. Taken by Mark Jones. That may have been a signal for holding and taking Watkins. Griffiths, Bowen, magnificent take. Another high one, not quite as far forward as you would have wanted. Tukalo there. Peter Dodds. The first knock-on, however, was, I think, from the Welsh hand, and Scotland will get the put in.
That's 2 passes Blethen Bowen has had to take athletically over his head. That Jonathan Griffiths just needs to calm everything down at scrum half and give his fly half a chance to get the 3/4 line moving.
Got his 10 metres line. So that's the first scrummage that's gone in. Very interesting duel on this side. Ian Milne is against Mike Griffiths, the newcomer to the Welsh pack this season. Derek White beaten to it as Jonathan Griffiths went round. Pick up by Watkins. So the referee Jean-Claude Dulce has made a good, confident start to his first major international as well. White the pick-up. Jeffrey. Scott's falling over. Armstrong. Chalmers. Chalmers is away. Ball knocked down. The pick-up by Armstrong. Nicely out to Dodds. On to Duncan. Duncan couldn't hold it. Chance there as Carwyn Davies got feet to it. Peter Dodds saves. And so no youngster could have made a more confident start to an international than Craig Chalmers with that lovely break.
French referees always make for good open play, but way back at the scrum went way beyond 90 degrees, and really the scrum should have been brought back and restarted.
French referees are notorious for refereeing in their own particular way. Mosley got fingers to that one. Griffiths. Bowen. Bowen again, using the high one. They're using the big one on Peter Dodd, but he gets it out to Ducolo. Ducolo coming inside. Caught there by Devereux. Good ball for the Scots. Armstrong. Chalmers. This is Lenine. Dodds. Dodds has Duncan outside. Duncan. Well tackled by Carwyn Davies. And across there was Roland Phillips. The flank forward from Neath. Very quick field coverage by him. There he is, the Triple Crown flanker from last season, number 6. Griffiths, hounded by Armstrong. This is Devereux. Devereux is a big, powerful fellow, but beautifully tackled by Armstrong. And so the tackling on both sides is very powerful. This is Gary Armstrong, who got his first cap against the Australians in November, following on from the same club, Jed Forrest, as his mentor, Roy Laidlaw. Pick up by White. White inside. Mark Jones got hands to it first.
Seen the Scots have gone for 2 back row moves from 2 scrums they've had. I'm sure they're looking to attack Wales around these fringes, suspecting that there is a weakness there.
The backs are fairly evenly balanced insofar as weight is concerned, but Scotland have a very experienced front row there, with Ian Milne on this side and David Sowell on the loose head side. Well, there's Scotland, 3 scrums awarded. They've won 2, so Wales have done slightly the better out of it. Pick up by Finlay Calder. On there to Gray, the new lock forward cap. Now it's Armstrong. That's a very awkward ball for Wales. Across comes Paul Thorburn. Great bit of play by the Welsh captain. He is really so secure under the high ball there, and he was on his left foot as well and got in a lovely touch kick. So the free kick, and back to the same place. Welsh 22, David Young at the front for Wales, David Sowell for Scotland. Ken Milne throws. Nicely taken by Mosley. So Ken Milne, number 2 there, will be annoyed about that, but the Scots have robbed it. That was a ball Wales really wouldn't have expected to lose. Cronin. Cronin not just quite sure what he wanted to do there, but it's the pick-up by Armstrong. All very frantic and the error strewn at the moment. Offside. Another penalty to the Scots. Gary Armstrong, the little farm worker, and with typical agricultural strength for a small fella.
Damien Cronin found himself in the scrum half position. That's a nightmare for a second row forward, Bill. He just doesn't give him a chance to get that long spin pass away, so he just drove on instead.
Well, just watch here. Damien Cronin, number 5, is a lock forward who's 6 feet 6 inches tall. But in fact, it was Gary Armstrong. And then Cronin went in to help him. Half blocked. And so Peter Dodds with a chance to stretch Scotland's lead. Lovely day for goal kicking, hardly any breeze at all. Pitch firm, and Dodds proves it. Oh, clean through. So Peter Dodds' second penalty goal of the match. The Scots flags are waving. That's it. And they played about 15 minutes. See how chuffed he is.
This is a message for the terrific spectators at the clock end that the blue terrific...
So here's Brevin Bowen, who captained Wales last season. Used to play for the South Wales Police, but now for Swansea.
As there are a lot of spectators at the rear who are trying to get
And placing it, in fact, for Paul Thorburn. Did you see? It almost landed over the dead ball line. Memories of 1986 when he kicked that howitzer goal against Scotland. Takes half an hour for his kicks to come down. Craig Chalmers. A bit too far. Phillips. Initially trying to feed out to David Bryant, but it's Phil Davis. Griffiths. Brevin Bowen chipping through past Tukalo. Yes, that was meant for Mike Hall, the big right wing, but Tukalo was very quick in the turn, Ivan Tukalo, so that kind of ball isn't likely to cause him too much discomfort. And the other statistics of the line-out, Scotland have won 5-4, so they're doing quite well there. Not here, though, as David Bryant gathered in the loose ball, then Phillips went in. The two flankers in on that. Watkins, Jonathan Griffiths. That was Mark Jones standing off. Watkins again. Good work by the Welsh forwards. Referees awarded the penalty, I think, for the Scots killing it as the Welsh forwards drove. And surely there's no doubt as to what Wales are going to do here. No, none at all. Paul Thorburn, the captain.
Good driving play by the Welsh forwards, and actually they exposed the Scots on the blind side. It was almost a Scottish tactic. Forwards driving on and staying on their feet and slipping the ball to forwards come out on the burst.
The end result is this chance for Paul Thorburn. And there may be some controversy in Wales about who's the best fullback in Wales, but there can't be much doubt as to who's the best goal kicker. Because this fellow is the new record holder for points scored in internationals with 170. Remember his great goal in the third place playoff in the World Cup that won the match against the Australians. Paul Thorburn, very high, but the flags stay down, just wide. Craig Chalmers touches down. And so Scotland stay ahead by 6 points to 0. They've played about 19 minutes. Quick dropout taken by Nigel Davis. That's a very long one, but it goes straight out. Well, that's very surprising. Nigel Davis of Llanelli put in a lovely long kick, but it seemed to go out on the full from here. However, René Urquet, the French touch judge and a very experienced referee, reckons the ball hit inside play. Jeffrey takes it. Referee Dulce was reminding Roland Phillips here that he might be offside if he wasn't careful. Good refereeing. Chalmers clears from Armstrong. The young border halfbacks fitting in very well. Couldn't have started better. Wales have clipped to 2. Big Mosley, Kevin Mosley at the front. Phil Davis at the back. Mosley marked by Chris Gray. Cronin took it. Chris Gray helped. Ian Milne and Soule charges. Armstrong, perfect ball by the Scots. Chalmers, a massive kick. Tearing back is Carwyn Davies. Goes back into his own 22. Good clearance. So that'll give Carwyn Davies a bit of confidence. One of the fourth Llanelli men in this Welsh side. And coming in late on, of course, when Ieuan Evans called off. Welsh 10 metres line. Milne throws. Beautifully taken by Gray. Armstrong, Chalmers, Lenine. Lenine the switch to Scott Hastings. Scott Hastings still there, onto Finlay Calder. Armstrong, probing, teasing, taunting. On the bounce, favoured Scotland all the way. So Gary Armstrong, you can see the adrenaline flowing and thrilled with that kick, because it put Scotland to there. Listen to the roars from this 58,000 crowd. And Ian Watkins taking his time. You'll have to be careful, because you're not supposed to delay just too long, but he obviously wants to get the signal right. Great take by Mark Jones, the big Neath number 8 forward, and that's a valuable ball for Wales. Clearance by Blethyn Bowen, and what a good kick off his left foot. It really was the wrong foot, but it was a cracker.
I'm sure Ian Watkins wasn't aiming for Mark Jones at the tail of the line then, but a lot of scraps have been picked up on either side, by John Jeffrey, by David Bryant, by Mark Jones, towards the tail of the line. It shows that it's a bit scrappy in the middle.
Ken Milne throws. Chris Gray takes. John Jeffrey drives, number 6. Armstrong. Lenine feeding on to Soule. Soule tackled by Devereux. Just outside the Welsh 22. Armstrong onto Lenine. There's a great chance here for Ducolo. Lenine cutting inside out to Ducolo. Pass didn't go to hand. Feed on there to Chalmers. Chalmers back inside to Armstrong. Brilliant try. Gary Armstrong's first try for Scotland in a major international, and it was a beauty. Great surging play by the Scottish forward. Then Lenine. Now he had Ducolo wide on the outside, but Mike Hall did a good bit of running there. That pass from Lenine went behind Ducolo, but cleverly he fed on to Chalmers. Chalmers gave it to Armstrong, a brilliant take and a great score. There the Scots talking about that one. And Peter Dodds. It's a good side for him. Pitch firm, ball dry. Listen to the roar if he slots this one. Dodds then. No, pushed wide. Didn't really get a hold of it.
All the Welsh defenders are stayed on the left-hand side of the scrum. 3 forwards that are there. There are acres of space on the left-hand side for the Scots. And Sean Lenine, he needed to straighten the line then, and luckily he managed to get his pass away. It was behind Ivan Ducolo, but good support by the halfbacks. First by Chalmers, and then by Armstrong.
So it's that 10 points to 0 for Scotland. They've played 23 minutes. Wales have kicked off direct into touch. The Scots have opted for the scrummage at the middle. And things certainly currently going well for the Scots. There's the tally of the scrummages. Scotland with 3 out of 4. But generally going with the head. White the pickup. Finding Jeffrey. This is Calder. Calder stumping on. Good tackle by Devereux. Up goes Cronin. The pickup by Armstrong. Armstrong trying to find Matt Duncan, but he was blocked by Carwyn Davies. Quite legally too. Good bit of running by Carwyn Davies. He didn't let that pass go to Duncan. But the Scottish breakaway trio showing there just what they can do when they put it all together. Roland Phillips, third from the tail there. Jones, Griffiths, Bowen. That's long, hasn't found touch. Good ball for Duncan to run. And he's decided to do it. Well, that's a very good kick by Duncan. On goes Scott Hastings. The pick-up by Thorburn. He's tackled by Duncan. Griffiths. Chance here for Wales. Nigel Davies runs into Chalmers. Griffiths again. Lovely work by the Welshman. Carwyn Davies, this powerful wing. Long, long left footer. Back goes Peter Dodds. Good, safe return. There was a real chance there for Wales, Eddie.
Yes, there was. Perhaps Nigel Davies could have given the ball, but again, he was looking to straighten it, which is always good from a centre. Carwyn Davies never really had the room to stretch his legs. He had to kick, and the Scottish defence was good and sound, and Peter Dodds could find touch.
Scottish 10 metres line. Goes Mosley, through goes Finlay Calder. The pick up by Derek White, on to David Soule. Armstrong, a bit too far.
It's noticeable, Bill, how those Scots are capitalising on Welsh first hands at line-outs and even at rucks. And they're there in more numbers, and they're hungrier on the floor for this loose ball.
Scotland have won 10 line-outs to 7, and that's a good return. But not that one. Roland Phillips takes it in. Griffiths goes. On to David Bryant. Superb tackle by Armstrong. On to Griffiths. Ken Milne back. Good bit of covering by the Scottish hooker. Griffiths, Bowen. This is John Devereux. Devereux laid flat there by Derek White. Phillips takes it on. Good effort here by Wales to get back into the match. Jonathan Griffiths, the scrum half, was the man. Phillips once more, the knee flank forward. Bryant once more. Out from David Young, Bowen, Devereux, Nigel Davies. The kick through, across goes John Jeffrey. And gets a touchdown. An anxious moment for Jeffrey. He thought for a moment the ball would sit up on its end, but he really kept his cool and got the touchdown.
For the first time, Wales could run good ball. Roland Phillips tidying up at the line-out, and that set the platform up for everybody, backs and forwards.
Brief stoppage because the French-Dutch judge René Ourquet has seen a bit of foul play. Je pense que cet homme, is it? No. I think that fellow over there did something wrong, and yes, it seems to have been a bit of, was it a bit of obstruction? Or it's actually for foul play that the Dutch judges should intercede. But in any case, it's certainly by Wales, and Scotland taking the penalty. Well, the territorial advantage there, Scotland having slightly the better of it, and of course leading by 10 points to 0. About 12 minutes to go to half-time. Scotland 10 points ahead. Mosley got up well, but it was taken by Jones. In went Jeffrey. Ball knocked forward. And they go out to the 15 metres line. That opens up the narrow side. Nowadays, of course, the put-in generally goes to the side who are putting in, just like that. Griffiths, Bowen, Devereux, Nigel Davies. Carwyn Davies, the left wing is in on the right. Super tackle by Scott Hastings. That was the kick on by Lineen. And so that was a lovely bit of work by the Llanelli left winger. Carwyn Davies appearing out there as a kind of extra outside centre. Armstrong. Chalmers. Again, very high. Up goes Lenin. Mark Jones was back there. Pick up by Tukalo. Armstrong. Cronin. Damien Cronin had the anguished look of a second row forward who suddenly is presented with a ball he didn't expect. Halfway. Oi, let me out of here. Mr. Dulce is trapped. Come on, fellas, stay up on your feet. Let's hold it up. Shoulders above hips. There we are with about 10 minutes to go to half-time. Griffiths. Bowen. Nigel Davis. Thorburn in the line. Carwyn Davis. Caught there by Duncan. Chalmers takes it. He's caught by Nigel Davis. On goes Finlay Calder. Armstrong. Oh, there's a lot of space at the back there. Up goes Derek White. Derek White and Scott Hastings. Back goes Jonathan Griffith. Scott Hastings got hands to it and Thorburn put it into touch. There really seemed to be the Gobi Desert back there. Not a red jersey anywhere.
What great covering by Jonathan Griffiths, but what anticipation by Scott Hastings. He was diving onto the ground even before Jonathan Griffiths had tried to kick the ball into touch.
So Ken Milne and Scott Hastings there with that lovely bit of work. Good footballer. Long one to Finlay Calder, taken by Derek White. White turns well. John Jeffrey drives. Great red mass there as the Scots try to work it back. Armstrong going, but the ball was held. Gary Armstrong was a wee bit peeved there because it was a great opportunity, but the maul had gone down and Scotland still get the put in. Here the shouts of shove, shove, but Scotland haven't so far shown that they could shove over for a try. They're trying now. That was the secondary shove. White holding. The Welsh scrummage has fallen in. White going, and the try is given. Helped by John Jeffrey. Derek White, the scorer. His third try for Scotland. And it was a superbly timed shove by the Scots. They haven't shown this crushing power so far, but White held it in beautifully. Notice he's still bound, and this was the important bit here. Wales might have been penalised for a penalty try, but White had enough strength to surge through. Peter Dodds swaps the conversion, and Scotland really have this game by the throat at 14-0, and now 16-0, and 7 minutes to go to half-time. So it's a long time since Scotland were 16-0 up against Wales, although one's thoughts go back to 1982 at Cardiff when they won by 34-18 and 5 tries to 1. Paul Thorburn had a wee word with the referee there. And then Paul Thorburn kicks long. Craig Chalmers. Quick throw to Scott Hastings, ready to take a quick one if Wales weren't ready for it. Chalmers. Now it's just about here, of course, that this Welsh pack have got to set about winning some really usable ball, and call for the first aid attendants. And it's David McLean coming on, and the injured player is the Bear Ian Milne. And there'll be anxiety in the Scottish camp at the sight of this.
Message for Derek Stevens of Benally Drive, Edinburgh.
There they are, the scrum statistics, and of course the one crucial one Scotland really wanted to win was the scrum which led to the pushover, and it wasn't just the control of Derek White which was all important, because it was the front row as well, because Wales, so close to their own line, were looking to whip the scrum round through 90 degrees, which would have forced the scrum to start all over again. But the Scottish front row resisted that and held off the Welsh pressure, and then drove on straight, which is very difficult to do when you're under that sort of pressure.
And of course, a key figure in that, Eddie, is Ian Milne, and the Scots won't want him to go off.
He's the absolute cornerstone of their scrummage, and of course has been for several years now. And without him, you could see the Scottish scrummage, if not, certainly lose its dominance.
Scottish 22. Armstrong turned it beautifully. Lovely kick on the half angle. He really is settling in well. He had a very good international debut against the Australians, despite the 32-13 defeat. And he started today where he left off there. Scottish 10 metres line. Through go the Scots again. David Soul through. And the Scots, great predators there. And David Soul there, one of the fastest prop forwards in the game today. Right back to his very best form. Must be a name that'll go down in the line selectors' books. Mark Jones holds. Griffiths goes half tackle by Armstrong. A good ball for the Scots now, although there were too many Welshmen in the way. Armstrong going. It gone by Nigel Davies, but it went forward first. So that's Nigel Davies, who scored 2 tries against Western Samoa. This is a 3rd international. Armstrong, Chalmers. That's high and long. Matt Duncan is going up on Paul Thorburn. Oh, lovely bit of work by the Welsh fullback. He really spoofed the Scottish winger there. Facing one way and quickly turned away the next. Nice bit of manoeuvrability there from the Neath captain of last season. That Scottish front row with Ken Milne playing in his first international are obviously doing pretty well, although the scrums have gone with the head so far. Griffiths, Bowen, John Devereux. There's Peter Dodge with a lot of room. It's long. Kerwin Davis nicely positioned. He's got a chance to run. He's a big lad. He could have gone a bit further, but it's a very good kick he's put in. That's a big lad who scored a debut try against Western Samoa, then got injured. So Wales as close as that, and they need a score before half-time as Ken Milne throws. David Soul sweeps. Mosley and Jones thundering on. Craig Chalmers. Referee's whistle had gone for the scrummage. Nudged forward. It's still a useful attacking position. What can the Welsh back set up from here? Really a kind of new look back division, certainly to Scots, although there are no new caps in it. Gary Armstrong doing a lot of useful harrying round the scrummage base. Holding in on the floor. And Finlay Calder, the Scottish captain, may have been penalised there, yes, for tying it in. And it's a chance for Paul Thorburn.
The penalty coming all the way back to the scrummage, really, and Wales tried a back row move going left, which is the unusual side to do a back row move. And to do that, you really need to have a solid platform. And Wales have just been nudged and turned a little bit. The scrum is solid enough, but if you are going to make ground and keep scrum halves off his opposite number, you need everything to be so square and solid.
So that's the angle of the kick for Paul Thorburn. This big fella scored 11 tries from fullback for Neath this season, but he's not thinking about that. He's concentrating on this penalty goal. Thorburn then, he hasn't pulled it round, he's kicked it dead straight. Damien Cronin waits and makes a mark. Well, he was stationary, he was inside his 22, he made a clean catch, he called mark. And now he's saying, what'll I do? It's lovely to see a big look. What's this? Well, there are moments of greatness in the life of lock forward, and that was one of them for Damien Cronin. The Campion school people down in Hornchurch would get a chuckle at that one. Watkins did well. This is Griffith's mic. The put forward, David Bryant working it. Now it's Jonathan Griffiths, he's being held in by Cronin. Jonathan Griffiths having, well, not having his struggle to seek here. Blethen Bowen. Scots tearing on. Ken Milne up now, almost up to halfway. Ian Milne, number 3, is trying to work it clear. Now it's out to Chalmers, along the line to Lenine. Lenine to Scott Hastings. Hastings, well tackled. Is it by Devereux? Armstrong, Chalmers, he's found a gap. Kukula going past Hall. Cross goes Thorburn. And Paul Thorburn shouting to them to watch the long throw at the back there, and the quick throw.
The ball coming back for the Scottish halfbacks to run off from rucks is so much quicker than the Welsh ball that the Scots can realign when Wales look threatening. Scotland are giving Wales no chance to do so.
Milne, the long throw to Derek White, taken by Calder. Now it's David Sole. Again, beautiful delivery. The drop goal by Craig Chalmers. It looks straight enough. The referee's arm is raised, and Adgebu scored for Craig Chalmers. John Rutherford could hardly have done it better. 19 points to 0, Scotland lead. They've played a minute of injury time at the break. It seemed to be almost on from the time the forwards won it. Derek White was the key figure here, first of all. Then, Finlay Calder gave it to David Sole. Now, it was a beautiful layback, and look at this, the space and the time, and what a good lick the lad gave it, the 20-year-old from Melrose.
Because Scotland threw long to the line-out, there was no Welsh back row cover to put pressure on Chalmers for the drop kick. They were all tied into the ruck.
19 points to 0. That will raise echoes of, remember, 1951. The referee's whistle goes for half-time. And that has been a half dominated for the most part by Scotland, who've scored 2 splendid tries, a lovely drop goal and 3 goals from Peter Dodds. And they're leading by 19 points to 0 at the break. Well, this is a Welsh side with all kinds of problems. The quality of ball the forwards have put back, as Eddie Butler was saying, hasn't been on a par with the Scots. And having a little bit of trouble at scrum half as well, Eddie.
They are. One of the key battles today was going to be Jonathan Griffiths against Gary Armstrong. And Wales simply haven't put enough pressure on Armstrong, that he's controlled the game from scrum half. He's kicked well, he's nibbled around the edges and set up Jeffrey and Derek White and Finlay Calder running at the Welsh fringe defence. And when he has released the ball, the revelation for me has been Chalmers at fly half. He's been cool and calm and collected. And he, in the very first 3 minutes, when he sliced the kick slightly, he expressed such disgust with himself that it seemed that, you know, here was a man who was determined to make a real mark on this game. Behind the scrum on the Welsh side, Jonathan Griffiths has been spraying his passes slightly at Blethen Bowen. Wales haven't been able to run anything back at the Scots. Everything has been they've had to kick everything, and Peter Dodds in defence has been under no real pressure.
The first score was really made by the Scottish forwards. The surging play, the drive, the lovely ruck ball. And then Sean Lenine had an option here, but he decided to straighten up, thought he could make it himself. And then this is where some marvellous support play came. First from Craig Chalmers, then from Gary Armstrong with that marvellous one-handed take. And it was a well-worked score.
Here we see it's quite obvious the Scots will try either a blank back row move. But look, Derek White has actually detracted himself, taken himself off the scrum and isn't really driving. There are 7 Scots against 8 Welshmen there. Wales trying to turn the scrum, but great control by the Scottish front row. And really the hole opens up for Derek White, but the front row made that try for him.
And Eddie, of course, that close-in scrummage is one of the most difficult bits to defend, isn't it?
Well, it is, because of both flankers are torn between, do I stand up, do I stay down and push? And really, it's not, once things start nudging backwards, they're caught in absolute no man's land. It's an impossible situation for them. All you can do is try and whip the scrum round through 90 degrees and have to have a restart, but it's very difficult, especially when you have Ian Milne on the tight head, who is such a strong influence on this Scottish scrum.
Well, we're all set to start the second half. And of course, what all the Welshmen will be hoping for here in this Royal Bank International is an early score. But the Scots really have the bit between their teeth. Their forwards are holding sway, and their backs have supported them in every respect. Their support work, they're chasing up under the high kicks, and getting into position off the ball has been superb. But of course, the Welsh side's never beaten until the final whistle. Paul Thorburn gets the second half going with another of those mighty kicks. But what a problem for the new Welsh captain. 19 points down at half-time. They're saying, remember 1951 when Scottish side beat much vaunted Welsh side by 19-0. John Jeffrey was up quick. Jonathan Griffiths took it. Armstrong. Welsh forwards having to dig in there, and again it's gone down. On this side, of course, we have David Soul up against David Young. Now, they're old adversaries, and you'll notice David Young pulling down on that left arm of David Soul, and the referee Jean-Claude Dulce has told him right away, look, I know what you're doing, don't. Jonathan Griffiths, good foot positioning. Gone straight out.
That Scottish scrum started to exert pressure on the Welsh. It looked a bit creaky then.
Now then, Ken Milne will... one or two throws in the first half weren't just spot on. Armstrong saw the gap. Meant it to be a little chip kick. Griffiths out to Devereux. Devereux, Kerwin Davis. Got a nice bounce. And so Kerwin Davis, who hasn't run as much as one would have perhaps wanted to see him, but he's put in one or two very useful punts. Scotland's 22. Finlay Calder at the tail for Scotland, and David Bryant for Wales, the bridge end flanker. Lovely take by Cronin, the drive by Soul. Soul thumping over the advantage line. What a ball for Armstrong. Chalmers. He's found his touch again. And the crowd appreciate the debutant display by young Craig Chalmers, the 20-year-old. Halfway. Well, Scotland well ahead in ball one at the lineouts. Mosley again was shoved a bit, but David Young got back to fall in it. Griffiths, Bowen, Nigel Davis, Peter Dodds. Good return. Such an experienced player, Peter Dodds, the only player in district rugby in Scotland to have scored over 600 points, and he's played in 74 district games. That's experience for you. Now, Ian Watkins has been very careful with his throwing. He's taken his time. Mosley flaps, through goes Jeffrey. Ken Milne was there as well. And that's one area where the Scots have had an advantage in the sheer speed of their players going through line-out ball.
Wales are trying to mark man for man, so every man is responsible for his opposite number not coming through. But the Scots have just poured through. There are holes there.
Scottish 10 metres line. Mark Jones. Derek White. White big and strong, and he's free. White again. Good pick up there by Chris Gray, the Scottish backer rampant now. Armstrong, Chalmers very high into the box. Thorburn waits. Up goes Lenine in the tackle. But the mark was made. And the free kick given. Typical brave bit of play by Paul Thorburn. Never took his eye off the ball. He must have heard the hoofs thudding up the pitch. Captain couldn't have done any better there.
It was very nearly a superb kick, but it did allow Thorburn a chance to mark and take the pressure off. But you're right, 1 yard further into the Scots towards the Scots half, and really 8 forwards would have collared Thorburn then.
Armstrong. Not quite 5 metres. If you deliberately prevent it going 5 metres, it's only a free kick now and not a penalty as it was a year ago. John Jeffrey has broken. Mark Jones taken. Inside to Phillips. Lovely. Griffiths away. Beautifully out there to Hall. Oh, what a lovely one. Bit of work by Hall. Chalmers with the tackle, but the referee he's not sure. He's decided that it was a momentum try, and Hall is the scorer. And it was a lovely Welsh try. Crowd a bit stunned, 19 points to 4, 5 minutes of the second half gone. And this was a cracker from the moment that Phillips broke through. Now this was Griffiths, and what a lovely pass. Hall had not a lot of room, he had a lot to do. See how he went in, and then came back out of his left foot. Craig Chalmers with a great attempt to tackle. But Hall was brought down, and his momentum took him there. So a great feeling for Mike Hall, his first try for Wales in his 5th international match. The big Cambridge University student who plays also for Bridgend. And that surely has raised Welsh hopes, although they're still that distance away. Now it's Bleddyn Bowen because he's a left footer. And he hadn't offered to kick, so he was all right as the ball fell over. And the opposing team can charge, of course, as soon as you offer to kick. This then should be the correct side for Bleddyn Bowen. And he scored 34 points for Wales, and that could be 36. Oh, he was unlucky, right off the upright.
The Welsh back row move coming here. Orthodox up the right-hand side. Good play by Roland Phillips and by Mark Jones, both staying on their feet, and a good pass by Jonathan Griffiths. I don't think Peter Dodds will be too pleased with himself. There wasn't much space for Michael to go outside him, and yet he still managed to do it. I think Peter Dodds was so anxious about covering the inside that he let him go.
Scots on the attack as Finlay called their charges. The referee just watches fellas jumping all over the place, but it's Armstrong. Chalmers. Notice how well he puts it away with his left foot too. He's been working hard on all of his weak points, Craig Chalmers. Of course, he comes under the guidance of Keith Robertson on the field for Melrose, and Jim Telfer's coaching. And that of Eric Allen as well, who is the Melrose first 15 coach. Watkins high, up went Jeffrey. Jonathan Griffiths. So this is the little explosive scrum half who hasn't had his troubles to seek. Born in Carmarthen. Learned a lot of his youth rugby on the Isle of Wight at Sandown High School there. Scotland still ahead in line-outs once, so the big fellas have done well there. But not on that occasion. Nicely out from Phillips. Bowen. Bowen, caught by Finlay Calder. Crunching tackle. The pick-up by Chris Gray. Good work by the big Anglo lock forward. Armstrong. There's a chance here as Chalmers go. Chalmers inside to Scott Hastings. Hastings half tackled by Jonathan Griffith. The pick-up by Lenine. Lenine lays it back. Armstrong. Scott Hastings again. Welsh defending brilliantly. Ian Milne on the Welsh 22. Armstrong once more. Armstrong still driving. But a penalty to the Welshman, deciding that he was tackled and didn't release and didn't get up immediately.
Spectacular passage of play there, and it all started when Brendan Bowen tried to make a break. It was actually on and he was half through, but in the tackle he lost the ball, and then Scotland took the charge on, and they were tackled 3 times, but at each of the rucks Scotland retained possession. Good little break here coming by Chalmers, showing the ball, you see, carrying it in 2 hands, it's so important. Scott Hastings tries the handoff. The Welsh defence is good there, they're back there in numbers, but really you can see the Scots now outnumber them by 6-3. And look, they make the body position as good as they put the ball down. Body, then ball, and then man.
And of course, Eddie, often the best kind of ball to run is that your opponents have just lost in the attack.
That's right, and especially if you're the Scottish forwards brought up on loose, broken play. I mean, they are so dangerous, living off these scraps of possession and open play, especially when they can set the loose forwards up, charging in the loose.
Well, here's a sad moment for David Young, the Cardiff prop forward, formerly of Swansea. You notice that left leg has been bandaged throughout the match. This is the strong lad. There you are. You notice he's got, this is his 12th cap. In actual fact, David Young, he's only missed one since first coming in the World Cup match, and that is a sad sight because he is one of the great scrummagers in Welsh rugby at the moment. And of course there'll be excitement down below because the replacement prop is Hugh Williams-Jones of the South Wales Police. And here he comes for his first international. What a thrill for this lad, the 26-year-old. Coached a lot in his rugby by John Lloyd, who was his schoolmaster, the former Bridgend and Wales prop forward. And so he's a burly fellow, as you can see, 5 feet 11, 16 stones and 26 years old. And here his first time in a major international. Just inside Scotland's half. Finlay Calder. Soule has done some marvellous cleaning up at the line-out. Beautiful sweeping by him. Armstrong. This is Chalmers. Scott Hastings. That's a peddler. Peddling and peddling, and it hit the line. Paul Thorburn couldn't do anything else. Yves Bressy, the French judge, had a little work there for Paul Thorburn. But it was a super kick by Scott Hastings. Lovely match he's having too. Come on, Peter, are you coming up this time? He's shouting. That's the Welsh corner flag. Watkins lovely and high, but Jeffrey got up to it. Chalmers, but a bit of pushing in the line out. John Jeffrey gained a lot of height there in that jump, because he does most of the line-out jumping for his club, Kelso, which he captains. There he is, the captain of Kelso and the South this season. Paul Thorburn. Gosh, that's almost up into Princess Street. What a belt he gave that. They played about 13 minutes of the second half. Nicely taken in there by David Bryant. Griffiths, narrow side. Bowen. Cross goes Armstrong. Well, good use of the narrow side there by the Welsh halfbacks. Blythyn Bowen here taking it beautifully, and it was a neat little chip kick. jump by Cronin, but taken in by Phillips. But a sharp push there. Yes, big Kevin Mosley, this moving tower block in the Welsh line-out. 6'7", but deemed to have pushed there. Craig Chalmers. That's the first time he hasn't found touch today. And Paul Thorburn returns it with interest. We hear that David Young has knee ligament damage, which may take a wee while to sort. Just inside Welsh territory. Ken Milne throws. Armstrong, lovely bounce for him. Chalmers, Lenine taking it straight. The All Black trialist. Devereux couldn't get it out first time. Carwyn Davies looks very smart, this big lad. He's 5'10" and 13'3", but he looks very nimble for that size. Fellow who set a record for Llanelli last season of 45 tries. That's some haul, that, isn't it, in a season? And so there he is, 45 tries for Llanelli, one season, club record. Paul Thorburn's penalty has put Wales up to there, just outside Scotland's 22. Griffiths, Bowen, the chance here for Devereux. Devereux well tackled by Chalmers, who may have been hurt. To pick up by Griffiths. Chance here as Bowen feeds out. Thorburn, pass a bit low for Thorburn. And Blethen Bowen apologises. Ball slipped perhaps as he fed it on. Craig Chalmers is all right, but Wales are inside Scotland's 22. Well, the schoolboys and the famous schoolboys enclosure here at Murrayfield, a very distinctive feature here. David Soul takes, John Jeffrey, number 6, helps. Chalmers from Armstrong. Well, he looks so cool and composed, doesn't he? He's had a knock on the leg, you'll notice. But he's obviously enjoying this. A drop goal to his credit as well in his first international. Wales down to 2. John Jeffrey, you'll notice, at the back. Scotland still with the territorial advantage. Armstrong. That's a good clearance. All the folk at Riverside Park will be saying, well, we know he can do that. Latest in the lineup, Jed Forrest internationalists. 9 altogether now from the Border Club. Scotland's 22. Oh, short one to the front. Griffiths. Bowen missed out everybody to Nigel Davies. Back inside, and that's Carwyn Davies, the left wing, suddenly appearing on that straight drive. That was a good move, made a lot of ground. There was a very good bit of robbing there. It was by Chris Gray of Nottingham, the Anglo-Scottish lock forward, just getting up there, number 4. He really prevented that ball coming back on the Welsh side. It was a good bit of pirating by him.
Welsh coming. Mark Jones, number 8, is standing at inside centre.
Bowen, Mark Jones, there he was at centre, on to Phillips. It was David Bryant, in fact. Now it's Griffiths, Blethen Bowen, there's a chance here. Nigel Davies, what a tackle by Scott Hastings. He may be penalised. There was an offside, though, against the Scots. I thought when Nigel Davies went down and got up again out of the tackle, that he might have been penalised, but the Scots were offside, and it's a penalty to Wales. And such an important kick, this, because this would cut the deficit to just 12 points.
The penalty coming after a very strange move where at the scrum in front of the Scottish post, Mark Jones went and stood outside Blethen Bowen in the inside centre position. I think that's either supreme confidence in your front 5 or a little bit of desperation. But anyway, it worked because Carwyn Davies, David Bryant, coming in support of Mark Jones, made good ground.
And the Welsh scrummage held pretty well too, Eddie.
Yes, it did, which is surprising because they have a sub on, and Ian Milne is still surging forward.
Blethen Bowen He's pulled it round, straight between the sticks. It's a lovely goal, and Wales are back in the match. It was a superb kick. The Welsh flag's flying, 19 points to 7. They played about 19 minutes of the second half. There he is, the former Welsh captain. This today is his 23rd international, his first against Romania in '83. And he's raised Welsh hopes with that lovely kick. Peter William Dodds surveying the options. Thorburn. That's a huge kick. Tukalo. Not a great kick, that one, by Tukalo. Forwards had no momentum. Scott's offside. Thorburn again. Dodds. Yeah, cool as a cucumber. 31 years old now, Peter Dodds. His 16th international. And, well, what a service he's given to Gala the South and to Scotland. Scotland still ahead in line-outs 1. Mosley, Phil Davis took it in. Lovely bit of rescuing by Phil Davis. Jonathan Griffiths. It was Bryant standing off. The Welsh forwards are beginning to wax strong. Griffiths, Bowen. Bowen sweeping inside to the other Griffiths, the prop forward, Mike. Griffiths, Jonathan, Bowen. But a penalty for stamping. The 47-year-old French referee. A clear indication there. Didn't caution anybody that I saw, but indication clear. And Craig Chalmers, good and safe. He's only missed one intended touch kick today, and what a debut he's had. We're into the last quarter of the match. 19 points to 7, Scotland lead. Jean-Claude Dulce insisting on that gap down the middle. Phil Davis, Jonathan Griffiths. Real trouble there as Ken Milne goes. Up to the Welsh 22. But the Welsh forwards still rescued it, and Blythyn Bowen did the scrum half job out to Paul Thorburn. And those two more experienced members of the Welsh back division certainly holding the forces together. And Blythyn Bowen there, very quick to notice his scrum half was trapped. Ken Milne with the throw. Chris Gray beaten to it. Taken in there by Williams-Jones, Hugh. Well, the maul's still up, and so play will carry on. And of course, you're not allowed deliberately to take that maul down. If you take it down deliberately, it's a penalty. Good drive by the Welsh forwards. Just little signs there, Eddie, that the Welsh forwards have revived a bit.
Yes, they have. They're picking up the scraps, which in the first half all went to Scotland, and then they're all getting their heads in and driving. The second half has really belonged to Wales entirely, and all they need now is that final pass to go to hand rather than be spilled forward, and there could be some revival.
Mark Jones with the pickup. Good tackle by Derek White. Of course, one or two of the Scots forwards have had injury problems this season. Ian Milne, for instance, although he's played most of the season, missed all of last season. And Finlay Calder himself hasn't played throughout the season, has missed one or two games. And Derek White as well is a bit short of genuine match practice because of business commitments. And so there may be just a little bit of worry in the Scottish camp, but not with Derek White there, out to Gary Armstrong, but the Welsh have won it, and Bowen with a lovely pass to Devereux. Devereux. Lineen with the tackle on halfway. Devereux up on his feet very quickly. That was immediate. Now it's Jonathan Griffiths. Wales on song. Blythyn Bowen. Nigel Davies. Nigel Davies, Thorburn back inside to Carwyn Davies. And good tackling there by Matt Duncan. John Jeffrey there too. And by Craig Chalmers. But I tell you, the Welsh backs are beginning to stitch things together. And that was a lovely move. There was really a 4-2 here when they first started out. Blythyn Bowen, they're a wee bit cramped. Nigel Davies took it on then, and then Paul Thorburn. Notice how Carwyn Davies came inside, and it was Duncan who stopped him. John Devereux was injured in that little bit there in the tackle. Injured in the tackle by Sean Lenine, but it's inside Scotland's 22. Mosley got up high. But a penalty it may have been for levering, certainly some kind of interference. There's Kevin Mosley of Pontypool, the only Pontypool member in the Welsh side today. Chalmers clears. Well, they've 15 minutes of the match to go, and although it's 19-7 to Scotland, I don't think any Scots in the crowd feel safe by any means. Watkins with the throw. Up goes Mosley. Griffiths. Bowen. Nigel Davies. Sliced it a wee bit, but it's a good touch just the same. Nigel Davies, who's a very skillful looking player to me. Looks to me like a footballer, this one. There aren't many fellas come up from Wales who aren't, of course. Ken Milne, notice throwing off his right foot. Cronin got up to it. Welsh piling through, but too fast. Penalty again to the Scots.
You see how important the role of David Soul is for the Scots there. For the first time in the match, when the ball was flapped back on the Scottish side, he wasn't able to get his hands on it, and Wales could pour through. But if David Soul doesn't tidy up, then they're in trouble.
So there's David Soul, who, as I say, makes so much out of Scotland's line-out ball, not only by sweeping, but often in getting over the gain line, so vital. Scotland's 22. Mosley again beginning to come in. Ken Milne going through. And so Kevin Mosley, who had a thin time of it in the early line-outs in this match, certainly coming into his own here. A big fellow who can jump. There's Wales missing Robert Norster on this occasion. Griffiths. Armstrong has done some marvellous harrowing there. Still Wales is put in. And Armstrong is the injured player now. I tell you, Gary Armstrong has had some problems with his shoulder recently. But he may have had a knock on the head on that one. It was a marvellous bit of marauding by him. He is such a 100% all-out little player, and he sailed into that tackle on Blythyn Bowen. There it was. And there he may have just got a bump on a knee. It may have just have been bumping against Finlay Calder. Well, there's his story so far. Gary Armstrong is second international this one. Notice he's only 22. And at 13-1, a very powerful build for a scrum half. And the Scots with David McLean on the left there, who's tended to the Scots so long. Of course, they really can tend to the player on the field whilst play goes on, unless it's a front row player. But Gary Armstrong happily all right. Still a very good Welsh scrummage there. Griffiths, Bowen, Nigel Davies. Good tackle there by Chalmers. Chalmers, the Scottish defence drifting, but it's Bowen again. Back goes Matt Duncan. And so that drift defence by the Scots enabled Craig Chalmers to take the Welsh centre. And that helps you to cover also a full-back coming into the line. But Wales setting up some territorial advantage here. They're on Scotland's 22. Yeah, you can see how the Welsh have improved in the second half in possession and territorial advantage. And they're beginning to gather in the snippets at the line-out as well. Jonathan Griffiths. Bleddyn Bowen. Changes tack. Carwyn Davies. Caught there by Cronin. Nicely out again, Jonathan Griffiths. That's Roland Phillips. Bleddyn Bowen is away again. Out to Mark Jones. Carwyn Davies. Good on touch, was it? Play still carrying on. Yves Brissy hasn't put his touch flag up. The Welsh are within 5-6 metres of the Scottish line. Jonathan Griffiths burrows in. Finlay Calder. Now it's from Watkins. Roland Phillips. Mark Jones. Desperate Scottish defence here as the Wales forwards pile into them. And stop that, you fellas, come out of there. Claude Dulcie has really refereed very well. He's been right on top of everything.
Good Scottish defence, because it wasn't just the back row that Damien Crone in the second row made one vital tackle and David Soul made another.
But it's still pretty desperate. This is what Bill Dickinson, the first Scottish coach, used to call the panic situation. Mark Jones holding. Now he's loosened his binding on one arm, but he's okay with the other one. Jonathan Griffiths caught by Jeffrey. Scrummage pulled down, and a penalty to Wales. Great defence by John Jeffrey there, because this little lad, Jonathan Griffiths, is so powerful and so explosive. Paul Thorburn has asked for them to go for the try. Ian Watkins standing off. Jonathan Griffiths, Ian Watkins. Jonathan Griffiths on to David Bryant. But this is where they will want to work it from. They've made the first dent. Jonathan Griffiths again. Beautiful tackle there by Chris Gray. Scotland have blundered it. And if they control it, they should be able to clear. No way through for Gary Armstrong. Beautifully back from Finlay Calder to Craig Chalmers. The Scottish captain's pass was the one that gave the young fellow room to clear, and he did it well.
Great Scottish defence there, and it wasn't just the Scots defence in the tackle. They delayed the ruck ball for Wales, and Jonathan Griffiths, if he is going to make ground around the sides of rucks and mauls, it has to come to him quickly. But as soon as it was delayed, the Scots could put their tackles in, and how well they did it.
All the same, Yves Brissy, the French Dutch judge, has obviously seen a bit of foul play, and it's a penalty to France. So one each in that regard, and Wales still with a great chance. Now they may change it this time. Ian Watkins standing very close. Fed on there to Phil Davis. Nicely out there to number 6, who is Roland Phillips again. David Bryant picks up. The feed out to Mark Jones, but he's held. And you would think Wales would want to spin it wide from about here. It'll still be a close-in scrummage, and it'll be Wales's put in. But really tremendous Scottish defence on that occasion.
Yes, Wales had 6 or 7 goes at going close. I think the moment then came, let's try the alternative and spin it wide.
Great roars of heave, heave, shove, shove. It's not the best ball, but Mark Jones had it. Jonathan Griffiths tackled again by Jeffrey. And it's which pack can get in front of the ball here. Wales obviously have done so. Out from Phillips. Devereux. Devereux accidentally offside, bumping into his own man. It'll be Scotland's put in. And you can see the Welsh backs really were snivelling for that ball to come out to them.
They were, but the ball was held up, and they know that really, once the ball is held up, that the Scots are creeping up, they're edging up in a line. It does make life difficult. Good defence by the Scots.
They'll have to come back to the mark. And of course, in a scrummage, the front five forwards have to be in play. Jean-Claude Dulce's forgotten that, but Derek White got it back to Armstrong. And there's a very important kick for the Scots. Another beautiful kick off his right foot and in a twisted position. So I make it that there are 6 minutes of the match to go and Scotland leading 19-7. Scotland going for their second win in a row at Murrayfield. Mosley certainly got up very well in this second half, and that's a lovely ball. Griffiths, Bowen, missed out everybody to Nigel Davis. Good tackle by Lenine, the switch by Bowen. Bowen knocked back in the tackle. The drive on by Phil Davis, all 18 stones of him. The Llanelli number 8, and there are fellas all over the place there. David Bryant, who captained the Welsh students in the Students' World Cup in France just a year or so ago, number 7. He's only 21 and he's actually the vice-captain today. David Bryant, the 4th Bridgend player in this Welsh side. So Wales have certainly gained a great deal in the second half. You can see there Scotland had a lot of possession in the first half, but Wales have come into their own in the second. And they've been up in that Scottish area for a good long time now. And certainly deserve their 7 points. But the Scots have managed to win good ball and clear it. And they're outside their own 22 for a while.
The Welsh backs now have 40 metres to run at the Scots. They may prefer this position to somewhere within the 22.
Griffiths, Bowen, awful ball for him, but Devereux takes it. Nigel Davis, Davis going for the gap. Superb tackle there by Lenine. Out there to Hall, marvellous tackle by Hastings. And Kerwin Davis was across there as well. So there were 3 magnificent Scottish tackles. Lenine, Hastings, and then Peter Dodds there, along with his captain Finlay Calder. But another very threatening Welsh move ended by Peter Dodds. Yes, Scotland are being beaten at the lineouts in this second spell. John Jeffrey may have won a useful ricochet ball there, and that was Ivan Tukalo. Well, he'll be pleased with that as well, I tell you. Off his left foot to the left touchline and gaining about 30 metres. Ivan Tukalo. 5 tries for Scotland in internationals, with a good World Cup for them.
Mike Hall is in the Welsh three-quarter line from the opposite wing.
Again, Mosley has really dominated the second half lines. Griffiths, Bowen, Nigel Davis again, Lenine on the tackle. The New Zealand fellow tackling like a New Zealander, fed away from Bowen. This is Jonathan Griffiths. Great tackle by Jeffrey. Out to Phillips. Crossfield by Paul Thorburn. Peter Dodds. Scotland are being pressed and they know it. There are only 3 minutes of the match to go plus injury time. 12 points between them at 19-7. But there, Wales having won more lineouts in this second half, and it shows. Once again, Mosley gets in, but Ken Milne gets through on Griffiths. A deflection, not the best one for Griffiths there. It really set him up for Ken Milne going up the front of the line out.
Well, the ball went straight through the scrum half, and really the gaps are there at the front. Well, the Welsh players haven't yet taken their men out completely, and the Scots are pouring through.
Scottish 10 metres line. Now you'd think that Ken Milne would want to use the tail of the line out because, oh well, Damien Cronin got it there. Chalmers nicely out to Lenine. Lenine linking up with Jeffrey. On there to Gray. Out to Ducolo. Ducolo's away. Ducolo the cross kick. Up there goes Armstrong. John Devereux tackled by Armstrong. Beautifully out to Carwyn Davis. Great bit of play by Devereux. Marvellous timing of the pass. And Carwyn Davis did the rest. But what a breakout by the Scots. It was such an awkward ball, and Devereux did marvellously to get back. Just watch here, the Scots did win a line out off Gray and Cronin. Now Lenine did wonderfully well because he cut back and found his forwards. Jeffrey first, Gray, and then Ducolo. See, Ducolo was clear, and then as Thorburn came across, what an awkward ball for Devereux, but he felt the tackle and got it away. Ball just nudged forward there. And there's John Devereux, this tough man from Bridgend, who had such a wonderful World Cup with 3 tries in 3 different games. But it's Scotland's put in. Finlay Calder has broken. Derek White out to John Jeffrey. On there to Armstrong. Armstrong to Calder. Calder has Duncan there helping him. They're within 10 metres. Great resurgence here by the Scottish forwards. Not Jean-Claude Dulce looking back to the Welsh backs and reminding them to stay behind the rear feet. And it's good refereeing just to have a word with fellas now and then to keep the continuity of the game going.
Good play by Finlay Calder. At this stage of the game, everybody's exhausted, but he made 15 yards with men hanging on to him and still stayed on his feet to make the ball available.
We're almost into injury time at the end of the game. Scotland leading 19-7, getting a super heel from Ken Milne. Derek White holds, but he's lost control. Pick up by Mark Jones. Jonathan Griffiths in trouble. There are fellas all round about him, no way there. Finlay Calder got hands to it, but it looks as if it's a penalty to Wales, and it may have been an offside decision. Scottish captain denied. That would have been the clincher. Paul Thorburn has cleared it, and of course he was on his own goal line. But in a desperate situation, well, it might have been worth a tap and a feed out and have a go. Played a minute and a bit of injury time. Long one over the top. Finlay Calder, taken by John Jeffrey. Always a good ball that, because it's big men running at backs. Now it's Lenine. Lenine outside his man. On there to Peter Dodge. Dodge through. Dodge almost there. On to Chalmers. The try is given. The ball didn't touch the ground. And the 20-year-old has clinched the match for Scotland. The hat's aloft. The flag's aloft. 23 points to 7, and here's how it came about. Lenine started it, but it was the injection from Peter Dodge that made the difference. Marvellous angling of his run. He beat 3 tackles here. Now watch, there was a little nudge, but Chalmers caught it before it hit the ground. A good try. And so the youngster, yeah, no wonder he's chuffed about that. His dad, Brian, will be chuffed as well, because he coaches the Melrose second 15 and has encouraged this youngster to the position he's in now. And Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, obviously enjoying every moment. Their second Scotland-Wales game, and Scotland won the one in '87 as well. Peter Dodge, who really made the Chalmers try with the conversion attempt. He has a wee hitch of the breeks and then a little ding-dong, and away it goes. Didn't work that time, but 23 points to 7. The referee's whistle goes for the end of the match, and Scotland have won a splendid match. A match that has produced, what, 4 super tries. 23 points to 7 the Scots have won, and what a start to their Five Nations Championship. And Wales, obviously, Eddie, with a few problems to solve.
Yes, indeed, the Scots took full advantage of all the lack of confidence and nervousness which Wales had shown in their 2 previous autumn internationals against Western Samoa and Romania. And by the time Wales eventually found their form and came back into the game, Scotland had scored 19 points in that first half. The second half, however, Wales did show some signs of improvement. They dominated the line out through Kevin Mosley. The scrum after the departure of David Young looked solid, with Hugh Williams-Jones coming in and performing well in the front row. But they just simply could not break through fine Scottish defence. It wasn't just the back row. David Soul put in crucial tackles. Damien Cronin too tackled well. And then, just as all the Welsh weaknesses have failed to break through the Scottish defence, began to drag them back towards their own line, Scotland scored that last try in the last minute of the game to put the seal on this win.
And so, from a shared wooden spoon last season, Scotland opened their 1989 championship campaign with this 15th win at Murrayfield over Wales. They go ahead in the series here by 15 wins to 14. Scotland, good winners by 23 points to 7.
Good start in the championship for Scotland, who come to Twickenham in 2 weeks' time, and of course we'll be there.